The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were two pivotal events of World War II that resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people and the end of the war. The bombings were carried out by the United States on August 6 and 9, 1945, respectively, against the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The bombings were the first use of nuclear weapons in war, and they had a profound impact on the course of history. The bombings shocked the world and led to the end of World War II, but they also left a legacy of death, destruction, and fear. The decision to use the atomic bomb was a difficult one for the United States. The war in the Pacific had been going on for 4 years, and the United States had suffered heavy losses. The Japanese government had shown no signs of surrender, and the Allies were concerned that a prolonged war would lead to even more death and destruction. The United States had developed the atomic bomb as part of a top-secret project called the Manhattan Project. The project was led by J. Robert Oppenheimer, a brilliant physicist who was also a member of the Communist Party. Oppenheimer was convinced that the atomic bomb was necessary to end the war quickly and avoid a costly invasion of Japan. President Harry Truman, who had recently succeeded Franklin D. Roosevelt, was also convinced that the atomic bomb was necessary to end the war. Truman had been briefed on the Manhattan Project, and he was aware of the destructive power of the atomic bomb. He also knew that the Japanese government had shown no signs of surrender, and he was concerned that a prolonged war would lead to even more death and destruction. On August 6, 1945, the B-29 bomber Enola Gay dropped the atomic bomb Little Boy on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. The bomb exploded at an altitude of about 1,900 feet, and it released an energy equivalent to 15 kilotons of TNT. The explosion instantly killed an estimated 80,000 people, and it injured another 70,000. The heat from the explosion was so intense that it melted steel and concrete, and the blast wave leveled buildings for miles around. 3 days later, on August 9, 1945, the B-29 bomber Boxcar dropped the atomic bomb Fat Man on the Japanese city of Nagasaki. The bomb exploded at an altitude of about 1,650 feet, and it released an energy equivalent to 21 kilotons of TNT. The explosion instantly killed an estimated 40,000 people, and it injured another 60,000. The heat from the explosion was even more intense than the explosion at Hiroshima, and the blast wave was even more destructive. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki had a profound impact on the course of history. The bombings shocked the world and led to the end of World War II. The bombings also left a legacy of death, destruction, and fear. The immediate aftermath of the bombings was horrific. The cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were reduced to rubble, and the streets were filled with the dead and the dying. The injured suffered from burns, radiation sickness, and other injuries. Many people died within days or weeks of the bombings, and others died slowly and painfully from radiation poisoning. The long-term effects of the bombings are still being felt today. The radiation from the bombs caused cancer and other health problems in survivors, and it also contaminated the environment. The bombings also left a legacy of fear and distrust, and they continue to shape the world today. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki are a reminder of the destructive power of nuclear weapons. The bombings also raise important questions about the morality of war and the use of force. The bombings have had a profound impact on the development of nuclear weapons. After the bombings, the United States and the Soviet Union began a nuclear arms race that lasted for decades. The bombings also led to the creation of the United Nations and the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which are both aimed at preventing the spread of nuclear weapons. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki are a tragic event that will never be forgotten. The bombings are a reminder of the destructive power of nuclear weapons and the importance of peace and diplomacy.